Hey guys, how are you? It's been a while. I hope you're all doing well. I just want to say thank you for clicking onto this video. Um, and I just got an interesting topic today I would like us to talk about. Um, Lately I've been coming across this argument that's going on in the uh, just a lot of, especially in the world of black media, about um, African Americans and Africans and Africans in Brazil and all these other islands and all that stuff. Before I go into the topic, first I just want to say something about DNA, guys, because I think we have every reason as black people to be skeptical of DNA and all that. I agree 100%. We have every reason to be skeptical in anything. If there's one group of people in this world that should be given the right, the absolute right to question everything, is us. But at the same time, I do understand there is a way you can test things, see if it works or see if it doesn't work. Okay? One thing I've discovered about DNA is that, and I hope everyone knows this, there's a lot of information that is stored in our DNA. Your experiences you're experiencing right now, they're getting stored in your DNA. And when you have kids, that information is passed on to those kids. Now, does that mean the kids will straight away know what my experiences are? No, they won't. They won't know. But sometimes things happen where maybe it could even be like 10,000 years ago. One of my ancestors ate something. Maybe they were not supposed to eat that and made them really sick. And in that process, it's even stuffed up their DNA. Right? They live their life, but that information is stored in my DNA. And whatever that a mutation that happened due to what they ate, or just giving an example, right? Or what they did is stored in there. And it might be dormant for thousands of years. But that thing is being passed on and passed on during that time. And for some unknown reason, there's a trigger that triggers it. And it appears as some sort of cancer in, it could even be the grandkids that you've had. And you never did anything wrong. But it turned out it's someone in your lineage from thousands of years ago that did this. And that's the importance of DNA. What I'm trying to bring out here is the fact that DNA stores information. And it has a lot of enough storage space for a lot of things to get stored there. I think Microsoft is working on how they can even use DNA to start downloading information onto it and uploading its information. So it sounds scary, but at the same time, these things are happening. The more we found out about DNA, the more people get intrigued. There's an experiment that was done on a goat. They put this goat in an electric fenced area, and the goat was pregnant. And every time it tried to go to leave that premise, it got electrocuted. It did that a few times. Eventually, it stopped. Right? When that goat had its kids, none of them babies went near the fence, because they knew it was dangerous. How? Because that information was passed on to them from their mother. Said, don't go there, danger. That's DNA. That's how important DNA is. Regardless of what people will tell you, that's how important DNA is. So why am I talking about DNA today? Because I want you to look at these things. Because some of you guys believe, and I'm gonna make a video one day, but I want to gather as much. Not now. It's still, in the process. Still maybe a few years from now. Because most of you still believe Africans, there was the so-called slave trade. There was trade, and Africans were paid whatever they were paid, and they sold their people. It was never like that. It was war. No African has ever sold another African. Not even within tribes, not even across tribes. And there's enough evidence to prove that. But what happens when you are being attacked? When for some of you guys that read the Bible, when the Babylonians attacked the Israelites, what happened in that instance? For you guys who know history, when the Nazi were killing the Jews, what happened to the Jews in that is what did that create within the Jewish community? You look it up. But no one today says, oh, some Jews sold other Jews. No one, you can't even say that. I might even get in trouble just for saying that. But because we don't control our narrative, and unfortunately, we've been meant to believe, to take the position of weakness and in malfunctioning sort of a group in any scenario, and it just, it's terrible. We tend to always take that position of blaming our own and not blame others. Most Africans today will blame their governments. And most Africans today, even though they are doing well in Africa, they might have a nice house, life is much better. They're actually living instead of just working. But if I went to one of them, if I approached most of them and said, you know what, you give me $50,000, I'll get you to America or Europe, and then you can start over there. Yeah. Most people will literally do that. They'll give up everything just to go to Europe, and then they go there and start suffering. But that's our mindset. That's our mindset, and that's the mindset that it doesn't matter where the African people, where black people are. That's the mindset that we've taken on. It's better when it's not us involved. And whenever we are involved, we caused all the problems. We did this, we did that. And we've taken in that information, and what happens, whatever information you take in, you manifest that. And that's why you realize that in a lot of places where you see black people, they're suffering because we failed to stand up and defend what's right. As a result, we suffer from what I call low racial esteem. We are demoralized people because of the wrong information that we consume every day and believe in it. Now, the reason why I want to bring this up, because I think there's a heated debate, especially in the US, among African Americans, where they're saying African Americans never came from Africa. They were there already. Okay? Now, here's the thing. This is why I talked about DNA, right? First of all, there's a lot of truth to that. Do I believe there were black-skinned people in America? Of course, I do believe that. I do believe there's black-skinned people in America. And I also, because I'm a historian, I do believe when you listen to what Mansa Musa said, there was actually Africans who went there 150 years before Columbus got there. I do believe that. And when you go even further, you're going to find that when you take the narrative that the Africans left Africa and went and popularized other parts of the world, it makes perfect sense. When you take the narrative that when you think of it that way, it makes a lot of sense. Like, they went to Europe, they lost their skin color, and all those things, if you want to believe in that. But for some people, that might be far beyond their reasoning. So let's just say 150 years old, there's a written record that's there where Mansa Musa said his brother Abu Bakr II did go to to the Americas with about 1,000 boats, which means he carried a lot of people, and we don't know we don't know whether he got there or not. But that tells me if there was black people there, those people are. Because therefore, also, if you've read the book of one book called "They Came Before Columbus," there's even evidence about the type of spears and gold that's on those spearheads and all this stuff. Because you can tell where gold came from. You know, isotopes in the air and whatever in the soil. It's just like if someone died somewhere, you can go and get information from their teeth, and it will tell you which area they might have lived in, the water they drank and all those things, So you get something with gold. It might look the same with the naked eye, but when you go at the atomic level, you realize that you could actually tell which area that gold came from. And they've done some assays about some of these spearheads that point out to the fact that these came from Mali. And that was the Mali Empire, But, so, there's a chance there was Africans from Africa there. But the part where people say, there was black people here. Now, yes, could have been black people there, but they were not Africans. We can't call those people Africans. And I'm going to tell you why we can't call those people Africans. I went to Vanuatu a couple of years ago. People there got hair like me, kinky hair. And when we were at one of the islands there, I went on a cruise, and the people had the spears and everything looked African. Even the setup, the markets, the food they ate, it actually looked African. And in Australia, I even met someone, some young girl by the name of, her name actually turned out to be Brenda. And I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Brenda Fassi, and she goes, I'm actually named after her. So they can even relate to Africa, these people in Vanuatu. They can relate with Africans, because of the similarity in terms of looking, even culturally looks similar. But they're not Africans. If you do their DNA test, it's not going to say they're Africans. They call it Melanesian or something or Polynesian or something like that. And also, in the DNA, I think they have more Denisovan DNA. These are ancestors, which you're not going to find among Africans. Why am I saying this? I live in Australia, there's Aboriginals. They have dark skin too, but they don't look African. They really don't look... They have dark skin, and they might look African a bit, because Africa is diverse with diverse people and all that stuff. But if you did their DNA test, it's not going to say DNA, it's not going to say they're African. And I know we don't really respect DNA that much. So why don't you test it? Most of you guys in America have sisters in different parts of the USA. Why not? Or family members. Take your DNA from wherever you are. Ask your teacher, sister, or whatever, from where they are, to do a DNA test and send to the same company, and see if they come up, if they connect you too, and then maybe do the same with your kids. Ask them to send it at a later date. See if it comes up showing that they are your kids, and if it doesn't, then hey, you have every reason to have a problem with it. Because I guarantee you, if those Africans had been in Africa, those dark-skinned people had lived in Africa for thousands of years, the DNA is not going to be that of similar. It's not going to be that of an African. It's going to be. They're not going to say, oh, you are Mende, or you are Mandinka, or you are Bakongo, or something like that. It's not going to say that. Definitely not going to say that. So there's also the fact that for 400 years. If we say as they came from Africa, Africans have lived there with white people, there's going to be some mixture. And also, the people who are already there, already Indians, they're going to be mixing. Look at South Africa. If you go to South Africa, you find a lot of mixed kids. And I know initially people used to think it was black men that was raping white women. That wasn't the case. It's actually white men that were raping black men. Most colored kids in South Africa have male DNA, 99%, almost 98% or so, have male DNA of Caucasians. So it was white men raping black women and having these kids. And then so if you go to America, that's highly likely going to happen. They're gonna be, some of you will be mixed with the indigenous people. There'll be some of you will be mixed with white and then mixed with indigenous people, or mixed with indigenous people and then mixed with white people. And you're gonna have those features. The hair texture is gonna feel like that. But denying that you are not African, that's not true. And this is why I've brought in this proof. Now, another proof, because what happens is that, as I talked about, that's why I started with the DNA. As we have this information in our memory, DNA, something triggers it that takes it out, that showcases in certain areas, because we live differently. Every area is different. If you go to Brazil, you'll find capoeira. Where did capoeira originate from? Africans were doing it in Angola. This is a video, and I'm gonna put this in the description below, and I want you guys to have a look at it. It's only about a minute and just a minute or 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. I want you to have a look at it. This is Africans. This video is taken in the 1950s, right? Africans breakdancing. These Africans have never seen African Americans breakdancing. These Africans were doing it, and the way they were doing it, because I remember doing this same thing. The way they were doing it shows you that they've been doing it for a long time. I was watching a clip of I think St. Lucia or St. Lucia. Don't know if that's how it's pronounced. And also you look at Cuba, black people in all these different places in these different islands. They do the stuff I was doing in Africa. We used to work on these stilts, and these guys, that's part of their tradition. The way they do their clothing and wear them, we used to do that to make doormats. So I'm not saying I'm from Nigeria or whatever, but throughout Africa, there's a lot of similarities in the way we live. And we see these same things, similarities. One of the guys that did a very good job is a guy called Lorenzo Deltena. And he's found parallels between Africans and African Americans. And it's clear to him that African Americans' behavior, culturally and mannerism, is derived from memory from their ancestors. How does this happen? It's in the DNA. It's in the DNA, guys. I was watching something on Netflix just the other day, and there's a black woman and actually a white guy. You were chefs, and they were talking about trying to bring back the Southern cuisines. What was Southern cuisine? And this was a white guy saying this. He was saying it's African. He said all the Africans brought what they were doing there, okra and all sorts of other stuff and created something. But you have to remember, they were not going to get everything they used to get in Africa. So now they're going to try to Americanize it by using local stuff. And that becomes the culture. This is not to say, I'm not saying here, breakdancing is Africa. Some people think that takes away from them and they freak out. But I can see the correlation between the two. You watch the video, all the tricks and the head spinning and all that stuff. And this is from Nigeria, but that's not just in Nigeria. That was across Africa. I remember growing up, we were seeing this, but because I'm younger, you might say, it's because maybe it's something you saw on TV from America. But this is in the 50s. There was no way. I don't even think they had those TVs. TVs in most people had TVs in Nigeria at that time to see that, And also the time that breakdance became a popular thing was probably in the 80s. This was done in the 1950s. This video was taken. They were breakdancing, and everyone makes a circle. Just like that, they go around and, square, whatever you want to call it, and people go in, they'll do backflips, they'll do all those sorts of things. That was in their DNA. Most Africans that were taken, they were taken against their will, if not all of them. They didn't want to leave. These people wanted to stay so bad in Africa and hang on to Africa that some of them will even pick up the soil when they jump onto the slave ships. Pick up the soil just to carry that soil in their hands. so they can have a piece of Africa. Some of them will even put the soil in their mouth, because as they put the chains on them, they used to get, make them forget get rid of the soil they're carrying. So they'll put it in their mouth and just be quiet, so that they can just have a piece of Africa. I read a book with Barracoon, and in this guy never cursed Africa. He never cursed Africa. He cursed his life in America. And all that time, all he ever wanted was to touch the African soil. Now, that's in his DNA. And this is one person that we can talk about, but there's multiple. There's millions of people with similar things. That's why some of you people, when you land in Africa, you just look at the number of people, African Americans going to Africa, and their experiences. These people don't even know each other. And it's different, and they're landing in different parts of Africa, right? But you're going to hear, like, there's a common thread among all of them of a feeling. Like the moment their feet touch Africa, they're feeling something, because in Africa, we say, our ancestors live with us. And some people get offended about that, then it's voodoo or whatever, something bad. But science has proven that we are carrying our ancestors with us everywhere we go. Because their consciousness is in our DNA. The information is in our DNA. And it's just a matter of us retrieving it. There's nothing new that's happening in the world right now. Everything has happened before. We see all these helicopters and all this. You go to Egypt, you find pictures of helicopters on the walls. And we can find excuses today. I know that's not the reality. Is you ask the Nubian people, they'll tell you these things have been there since the beginning of time. As far as they can remember, those things have been there. When you read the Emerald tablets, Thoth is talking about these beings were living. Thoth and his people were living for thousands of years, and obviously their body will get old, and then they'll go in these chambers. Apparently, you find those chambers under the pyramid. They'll go in these chambers, and they'll be in there for another 100 years or something like that, just resting. And when they'll come out, their body has rejuvenated. It's younger again. And sometimes they'll just move their conscious and put it into another body. What's Elon Musk trying to do today with this robots thing? Oh, we're going to download your conscious into a robot. And we think these things are new. No, they're not. Everything has happened before. You just think. DNA is a powerful thing to know about. Because all these activities that have happened in America, I'm not saying they're African, no. But there's something in you already. And when it comes out now, because of the environment, it becomes Americanized. And it's done. Africans can't claim they started beatboxing or breakdancing. No, they can't. But we can say, you know what? Our people were doing this. And what we've done is probably seen us. And as it come out now, we're in America. We've just Americanized it. And if people are making money off it, that's a good thing. It's not taking away from African American culture. But everything has an origin. That's my message here. And these are the things that are proving that we, wherever these Africans are, who left Africa, instinctively, they're drawing from ancestral memory. You might not even know this, but it's happening. There's people in some of these Caribbean places who've been singing about Ibadan and Oyo and all these things, and they don't even know why they do it, because that message has been passed on. Those songs have been passed on. It's now these days people are finding, oh, Ibadan was one of the big cities from where they took the slaves. And someone is going to tell you they never had cities. Talking of Oyo, I found that Oyo was a very big empire. But someone's going to tell you Africans never had an empire. Geologists. And then you find, you thought Africans were just taken for labor. You find out Africans were actually smelters. You find out Africans were growing rice. That's why jollof rice tastes so good. Because that thing has been perfected over thousands of years. Today we cannot even grow our own rice. We are importing. You know, there's something happening in Ukraine. All of a sudden there's starvation in Africa. Why? When we got so much land. Because we've chosen a path of blaming ourselves and believing we are not good enough, because we've chosen to download the message that's been given to us recently rather than download the message that's in us. Because once we download that message, we are kings. And no, that doesn't mean every person in Africa was a king. Nah. But once we download that message, we are far much better than the way we see ourselves today, because of the current information that we are downloading. I know Africa is not winning, so everyone wants to belong to something that's winning. And in this case, it becomes America. I get it. That's fine. But don't deny something just because you are embarrassed of it. That thing needs to go. Not when you know all this information, because you are doing yourself a disservice. It actually affects you negatively, affects your life negatively. It's only when you accept those things and see the advantages that they give you and go for that. That's when you become a better person. I want everyone to look at this video and just let's share. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you see. I'm not saying, I'm going to repeat this, I'm not saying African people started breakdancing. No, what I'm saying is the origins are there. Because even the word hip-hop, hip, if you people don't know, it comes from an African word, Mandinka word, hip, meaning knowledge. And then hop is an English word, just meaning moving. You are hopping. You know, so, and that's why you get hip-hop, which is African American, which is probably the best thing, the combination of both. I'm an African and I'm an American. You know, hip hop, which means there's a lot of things in there that's African and also American. You know, that's not taking away from African Americans whatsoever. We need to get rid of this idea that when someone mentions something, then they're taking away from you. But actually realize that we are actually trying to enrich each other, and let's close this gap. Because I tell you what, our friends are connected. You have no reason to be ashamed of being an African. You have no reason to. And for you, the Africans who are in America, if you can't contribute positively to the people already there, then shut the F up. That's it. Just shut the F up. You work, get your money, maybe get out. That's it. If you believe you can't do it, just shut the F up. I don't like people that are trying to go there and try to make people that are already there as if it's something wrong. But also at the same time, we need to accept, as Africans everywhere, even in Africa, sometimes we just need to accept that some things are wrong. You know, because here's one thing I've noticed, and I'm going to go back to Africa here, because it's the same thing even in America. You know, we'll have a good president in Africa, right? But there's only one person who's good. And then there's no one else, whether the ministers, the people in the civil servant, in the civil service, no one else is doing the right thing. One person cannot do everything. You know, so when we point out that there's something wrong in our society, let's accept that and work on it. That's why I like what Paul Kagame has done. Everyone in the government, every year, has to write a report about what they've done and what they plan on doing next. Because you have to be an idealist. Most people in government have no ideas. They go there, they go to work late, finish early, and just get paid in Africa. But that is wrong, and we need to accept that that's wrong. Same thing in America. There's something wrong in our society, because if there was nothing, if everything was perfect, come on now, let's be real. We'll be doing way, way better than where we are. So there's something wrong there too. And sometimes you don't see what's wrong until someone from outside comes out and points it out. So there's information, just like African Americans told the Africans in a lot of cases to say, you know what, colonialism is just a slavery. It needs to stop. And you guys need to fight it. there's message from both sides that can help us do better. But here's the video I found very interesting. Let me know what you think. Thanks, guys. Goodbye.